Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me on Her Art from the Attic today. I am Amy Pierce Stone, your art BFF. Today we've got a fun project. We're going to create this stained glass sunset scene using puff paint and watercolor. So grab your puff paint, your watercolor. I've got a canvas. You can use a watercolor canvas if you want. You could actually do this on watercolor paper too. You'll also want a couple of tiny brushes. This is a part of a stained glass painting series. They're not all puffy paint and watercolor, but check out my playlist for ones I've got and check back for ones I've got coming. All right, let's get started. Here is some puffy paint. Costs about $1 for this little tube. And you're going to squeeze the paint out of the tip and almost draw it like you would a pen or pencil. So I've drawn the horizon line right there. Now I'm just doing a circle for the sun, and I'm gonna lay down some lines of rays that just kind of wave out from that and hit the edges above the horizon line. And I'm going to smooth out some of those lines with my paintbrush, and now I'm kind of softening the edges and creating a border with my puffy paint and paintbrush also. Make sure when you use your paintbrush that you're not pressing the paint down too much, because you want it to look nice and puffy, as if you're looking at welded stained glass. Softening lines. Now I'm just going to add some designs underneath. So wavy lines. Now I'll do some almost like a rope pattern. Fill in some paint under that. Another line with some blocks. Some more thinner wavy lines. Smaller waves. And then I'm going to put in some tiny blocks under that, some circles along the way under that. You can really do any design you want. And if you make a mistake like I did down there, just turn it into something purposeful. So I made some rounded blocks with dots in the middle. And then I'm just going to add some little detail, fill in and soften lines, create my border with my paintbrush. You can get so creative with this. It's so much fun. I love too that this is something that kids can do, but it's enjoyable for everyone. Now time for the color. Woohoo! I'm using koi watercolors made by Sakura. They are the watercolors in the tube. It's not necessary that you use tubed watercolors, but that's what I'm using today. Okay, I've got yellow, and I've got orange, and I've also got red for the sun. I'm going to grab some blue also to have that ready, and you'll see later I grab other colors. Okay, I'm going to use my lighter color. Water down some yellow, put it in, surround that by orange and then that by red. Blend those colors together, adding layer upon layer. And I'm going to do that with various colors of that palette, yellow, orange, and red, and it within each shape associated with the sun. So whether it's the sun itself, the round part, or the rays. And you can see I've used some of the blue also to combine with red to give it a little purple hue. Then I'm putting yellow within that, because I want it to look just sunshiny and nice. So remember, we're keeping in mind that this is meant to resemble a stained glass window. So imagine while you're painting how each shape would look if the sun were shining through it, through the window. Now I'm going to grab some brighter light green, some dark green, and some dark blue to start filling in the shapes underneath the sun. You can get so creative, seriously, with the colors you choose. This ended up kind of looking like I was trying to represent a sun over water, which was not my original intent, but it turned out nicely, I thought, toward the end, as you'll see. If you lay down too much paint or too much water, just wipe it with a paper towel. So the main thing I think with painting down the color in each shape is to make sure that the middle looks brighter than the edges. Because if you look at a stained glass window, that's how each shape looks when there's light shining through it. It looks a little bit darker, to me anyway, around the edges of each shape. So use less watercolor in the middle to achieve that. More watercolor along the edges, and it's about layering, layering, layering. So wait a little bit for it to dry, then add another layer. Can be the exact same color, or maybe mix up the color a bit. But watercolor is cool because when you want to add depth and variety in the hue and the depth of the hue, you just add another layer of the exact same color. You can't always do that with acrylics or oil paints. So that's one nice thing about watercolor. It's a little less complicated. A paper plate is not the best palette for watercolors. As you can see, all of my colors running together. I also keep holding it vertically, which is making them run. But because my painting is vertical, so that I can put it on my easel to more easily show you. But I recommend when you do this to lay your painting down flat. Flat surface so that your watercolors don't drip out of the shape they are meant to be in, unless that's something you want, of course. Drippy watercolors can have a beautiful effect, but as far as the stained glass representation goes, I personally don't want mine to drip. Now I'm putting in some lighter green, and I'm just going to go use all the colors on my palette using the same techniques. Brighter in the middle, layering more color around the edges to make them darker, trying to make them blend nicely with my brush. Oh, I didn't mention that I'm using a really small angled brush. I like the way that it can get in the creases right near the puffy paint. You don't have to use an angled brush. You can try any brush you have laying around, but I found that really helpful. In fact, I go back and forth between brushes I use here. Some of them I used a really tiny liner brush. Experiment and see what works best for you. It's interesting, every artist, from my experience, uses brushes and paints a little bit differently. Even though there are techniques and tips that are really helpful when you're learning to paint, you've got to find what works best for you. And don't get tied down by something that you find works for you. You know, put that in your little tool belt, and then learn more techniques and keep experimenting. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Give me a thumbs up if you liked this tutorial and want to see more like it. If you have any ideas for art tutorials, please tell me in the comment section below. Also, you could tell me on Facebook, and I want to see the projects that you come up with on my Facebook page. Just type in Her Art from the Attic. I'll also put a link in the description so you can find my Facebook page. Join us there. We have a sweet little art community where we lift each other up and share our artwork and our thoughts and our ideas. It's great. You can find me on Instagram, Her Art from the Attic also. And, you know, if you want to adopt one of my paintings or artworks, jump on my website, herartfromtheattic.com. Check back often. Subscribe if you haven't. We've got lots of tutorials, lots coming, including I've got some really cool stained glass ideas coming. ways to mimic stained glass. And we're actually going to do the next one on glass. Also, if you want, check out my stained glass cherry blossom branch video. It was super fun, super fun. It's cool how you can have one painting like the one we just did, which is super vibrant, bright colors. And you can also do one with more subtle, elegant, more mild colors. I love it. I love the variety of things you can do with this technique and with watercolors. Also, does anyone have a suggestion for my dry hands? What works for you? I live in a desert. My hands hate it. Thanks again for watching, guys. Toodaloo!